Hi guys, welcome to lesson 1.3, subtracting integers. I apologize I got this up late. I didn't quite get my act together, so I completely apologize. It's also almost 10 o'clock at night and the Patriots game is on. So if I happen to glance off into another direction and start cheering or smiling lots, then you know the Patriots scored. If I start making really nasty frowny faces, then you know that they didn't score. So we're going to talk about subtracting integers. And the other day when we did the activity, we created this little table that's over here, which was which we investigated what happens when you have 4 and you subtract 2. And this was the operation that happened, and this was the answer. And then we noticed that if we took 4 and we added a -2 to it, so this was the operation, we still got 2. So really what we should have discovered was that if you subtracted an integer, it was the same thing as adding its opposite. And we went through a whole lot of other examples of this. So this is really what you should have gotten out of the activity yesterday. Which leads me to this rule over here. When subtracting integers, you're going to add the opposite. So let's give some examples. So we're going to start with 3 minus 12. Well, I take the first one, and the first integer, and that is going to be the same. We don't change that at all. We change the subtraction to addition, so it becomes 3 add, or plus, and we're going to take the opposite of 12. I'm going to pause for here for a little bit and explain the anatomy of an expression. You have an integer, you have an operation, so that's the math that you're doing on it. Is it addition, subtraction, multiplication, division? In these two units, we've really been talking just about addition and subtraction. So we have the operation, and then we have the integer. And each of these integers have their own sign. And as math is a language, I try to be very, very consistent. So when we talk about our operations, it is subtraction or it is minus. When I talk about whether or not a number is positive or negative, I always say positive or negative. The only time you ever should hear minus a number is when you're talking about temperature. You can also say negative, but that's the only time you should ever hear it. So if we're going to add the opposite, this is 12, because remember this negative here is or this minus sign is the operation. It has nothing to do with the sign of the 12. The 12 is actually positive. So the opposite of 12 is -12. And we know from the other day, we take the absolute value of both of these. The absolute value of -12 is larger, so we subtract 3 from 12, and we end up with 9. And the absolute value of the larger integer, well, the integer that has the largest absolute value actually is negative. So we know that our answer is negative. So we end up with -9. Okay, let's try another one. We're going to try -8. We're going to subtract from that -13. Now this one's kind of tricky. Remember, the first integer doesn't change. We just bring that down. That becomes -8. And yesterday we also talked about a language arts idea that a double negative is a positive, right? So if I won't go to no store, actually means I'm going to the store. Same thing with these guys. They become positive. And it also fits the rule. So this is a subtraction, which becomes addition. Hi, Dad.
Hi.
It's my dad coming to visit. So we're going to add its opposite, and since that's -13, it becomes +13. Yeah, we're on it. So actually, here's my dad. We should have guest speakers
Hello.
every once in a while. So Dad lives in an RV in our driveway. Asked me to explain that someday. So this is Dad. Say hi.
Hi there, students.
So anyway, we were back to taking -8, and we're subtracting -13 for it. So the first number gets dropped down because it doesn't change. And we add the opposite. So the minus becomes addition. And then we add the opposite of -13, which is 13. And -8 plus 13 is 5. All right. We're going to try one more. Actually, you know what? I think you guys are ready to start try your own. So you're going to try on your own. You're going to pause the video. 8 subtract 3. 9 subtract 17. And this is a fun one. -3 subtract 3. Okay, so pause me and then come back and let's see what the answers are. Okay, welcome back, guys. So this is how we do this. We keep the first one, that doesn't change. We are going to add the opposite, so that subtraction becomes addition, and then we're adding the opposite of 3, so that becomes the negative 3, and we end up with 5. This one we have 9, because remember that doesn't change. We're changing the operation from subtraction to addition, so that becomes a plus. And then this is, remember, this is a positive 12, so it becomes a negative 12, because that's the opposite. And we end up with negative 3. All right, this is the tricky one. This is the one I meant to see whether or not I could fool you guys. Negative 3 still becomes negative 3. That doesn't change. We're adding, so we're changing the operation from subtraction to addition, and we're adding the opposite. That's a 3, so it becomes a negative 3. And negative 3 plus another negative 3 is negative 6. The temptation is to look at that really quickly and think that that's 0. Mm-hmm. But remember, Dad's agreeing with me, if you were on a number line, 1, 2, 3, and you were at negative 3, and you subtracted up 3, you're still going this way on the number line, and you end up at negative 6. So that kind of logic matches what our answer is. Also, I had students say, well, but that's a double negative. The double negative has to be in a row like this. This is the subtraction, and the next, the integer is a negative. It's not here and here. It has to be right next to each other. So that is how you subtract integers.